Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this twisted Celtic macrame bracelet, and this is what mine looks like here. So just a demo piece really to demonstrate the technique. You can see this is basically like a 4-strand braid, but then adding a twist into it as well, and then obviously just done with the macrame technique. And then this is what it looks like on, obviously with the materials that I've used here. So it gives a really nice effect. Now the idea for this actually came from a bracelet I previously made out of wire, and that's this one here. So obviously you can see the wire, and I just used two different colours, the silver and the copper, but it has this same concept of a 4-strand braid, but then adding a twist into the middle throughout in the different stitches there. So it's the same basic concept, but obviously one is wire, and then I thought from the wire one, why not try and make it with macrame? So if you want to learn how to make this bracelet, then keep watching. So it's these materials here that I'm going to be using to demonstrate with. First of all, we need our cord. This is just a Chinese knotting cord, so a nylon cord. It's about 0.9mm roughly in the size of it, the diameter. And this is just to demonstrate with, like I said, you can really use whatever cord you want to. So both what kind of cord, but also what thickness it has. This is just really to show you the technique. And then I'm just going to use these ribbon ends here to finish mine off with. These specific ones are 30mm in the width, so they're going to fit with the cord that I'm using. And then obviously you want to use whatever clasp to finish it off. So I've got an extended chain, lobster claw clasp, and then my jump rings to attach the clasp to the ribbon ends there. So let's get it all together and let's get started. So then we need some lengths of cord to make this piece. Now it's all the same cord that I'm using, but we need some different lengths. So what I then have here are 8 lengths of my cord of about 60cm each. So these are the shorter cords, and they're shorter because they're mainly the holding cords throughout, so they're not going to get used up as much as the other ones. And then the long cords that we need are 4 lengths here of about 2.5 meters each. So it's quite a bit, but like I said, these are long because they're mainly going to be the cords that do kind of the knot work throughout, so they're going to get used up far more than the other ones. So what I've then also done here is I've just taken a short length of the same cord, just about 20 to 30cm or so, because what we need to do is use this cord to attach all the other ones to. So this is just really meant to be a starting point, and I've used my T-pins here to attach this onto my project macrame board that I'm working on, and also I'm going to be using the pins throughout to help kind of keep my work in place and make it a bit easier to work with. So then when we have this in place, what we need to do is start taking all the cords that we've cut off ready, and then attaching them to this. So I'm going to take one here and show you how to do it. This is one of the short ones that I'm going to start out with. I'm just going to show you how to attach them, and then the cords need to kind of be attached in a certain way, so the long and the short ones, but I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to attach all of them and then tell you what order they need to be attached in. So I take my first cord here and then work towards one end, so I have a little bit of a tail to hold on to. I'm going to put that tail underneath the holding cord that's attached to the board, like that, and have a little bit sticking up there. Then I'm going to take the long end, it's coming down below, and then going to bring that back around the top of that holding cord, and then lift it up again, bring it back underneath, and then you'll see here we have a little loop created by that cord, and then we need to pull the rest of the tail up through that loop. So it's just basically looping around that holding cord, making sure to pull it through the loop. Then I'm going to pull that tight, so it's not fastened yet because this is just 1/2 of the knot, because what we need to do is do the exact same thing again. I'm going to take the long end, it's coming out below, bring it back over the top towards the top of the cord here, bring it back underneath, and then pull it up through the loop on the bottom side. So again you can see you have that loop where you're bringing it through and around the holding cord, and then as we tighten this, that's the other half of the knot, and then that makes the knot hold tight on the holding cord. And it sits like that, and then obviously we just push this to the side and then grab the next one and attach all the cords in the same way. So now that I have all my cords attached here, the order that I attach them in, I'm just going to go through. So going from the left, the first 2 are 2 short cords, then the next one is a long one, so one of the very long cords there, and then we have the next 2 again, so these 2 here are 2 short ones, and then we have a long one after them, and then this is basically the midpoint. The next one is then also a long one, and then we have 2 short ones, so these 2, and then we have a long one again, that's this one, and then the last two are short again. So basically what you could say is if you split all these cords down the middle, so like that, both sides are mirrored from each other. So if we start from the middle, these two middle ones, one on each side, it's the long ones, and then the next two on each side are the short ones, the next one on each side is the long ones, and then the last two there on each side are the short ones. So that's obviously the symmetry of it, because it is going to be symmetrical throughout in the pattern as well. So that's why they're set up like this. So now that we have all the cords in place, we now need to make a little bit of knot work here at the beginning before I get into the actual pattern itself. And all I'm going to do with that is make a couple rows of knots here to have a little bit more work done, so that we can use that end before we get into the pattern to finish it off with at the end. So I'm going to take my furthest left cord. I'm just going to start from this side. It doesn't matter if you start from the other side because we'll be going both directions anyway. So that furthest left cord that I've then taken and brought over all the others, so over the top there, is going to be the first holding cord to make this row. And then I'm going to take the very next cord that's coming underneath. That's the first working cord. And then what we need to do is make double half hitches here. So I'm going to take the working cord around the holding cord, back underneath and back through the loop, and pull the whole tail through. And then you'll have your working cord looping around the holding cord like this, a bit like a 6, and then making sure it comes through to create the knot. Then I tighten this all the way up, and then we need to make another one of the same thing, so bring it around your holding cord, back through the loop, so you get your 6, and then tighten that up. And that's now a double half hitch that then forms right underneath the row of knots that we had when we attached all the cords. And that's basically what we're going to do all the way to the end now. So I'll grab the next working cord that's coming underneath, go around my finger, the cord here, bring it all the way through and tighten it all the way up. So remember just to make sure that it's double half hitches that we're making to get the same spacing as when we attach them. So do this all the way to the end, and then when you come back again, so I'll show you how to make the next row after this. So now I've made it all the way to the end here. What I'm then also going to do, because I have 2 rows, so I have a bit of work done, I'm going to take some more pins and just help fasten this a little bit more, because otherwise it's just moving around quite a bit. And I like to put my pins between the rows to not put it down through the knots, and also to avoid damaging the cord too much. So now we have these 2 rows. I'm going to use the same holding cord here to just create one more row to bring it back to the other side where it came from as well. So to do that, all I'm going to do is take the holding cord here, it's coming out towards the right, you just bring it across to the opposite direction, so towards the left, and again over all the other cords. And that's all you do to kind of change direction here. And then we need to start building the next row in the exact same way. We're just using opposite hands as well. So I take the very next cord that you run into of the working cords underneath, and then you just do your double half hitch in the other direction here, and then again tighten this all the way down this knot here so they won't go any further, and try and make sure to make your rows as well of knots that we're making as tight underneath each other as you can. And you kind of do that by pushing the holding cord a little bit upwards when you're tightening your knot. That helps make the rows nice and tight. Next cord, a double half hitch around your finger, around the cord here and through the loop, and then tighten that. So you can see we're then building the next row. So do this all the way to the end again, and then we have the first little section of knot work done. So now I've made all these rows here, and you can see all the working cords are coming straight down, and we just have the one that was the holding cord, it's just going out to the side. All I'm going to do really is bring that down back into work with the other ones again, because it was just to make these rows, and all the cords are now in the original positions as well, the same way as we attached them. So then now is the time we need to start getting into the pattern itself. So what I'm going to do first of all is just separate out the cords a little bit, because we're just working with a few cords at a time, kind of also from side to side, because like I said, it's going to be symmetrical throughout on both sides, you could say, of the bracelet. You'll be able to kind of put a line down the middle, and then both sides are symmetrical to each other. So I'll put it into these groups where I basically have 3 cords in each group. So just the 3 outer ones, and then the 3 in the middle on each side as well. And these are the groups I then want to start working with. So I'm just going to start with the middle groups here, and make that little section first before we then go to the sides. So I'm just going to put the side groups out of the way just to make it a little bit easier to work with, so they don't keep getting in the way and we maybe get tangled up. So I start with the middle groups, but also I'm going to start with one of them at a time and then kind of swap from side to side. So I'm just going to take this one first, and what we have are the 3 cords where 2 of them, these 2 here, are the short ones and this one is the long one. So that means that this is the one that's going to be mainly the working cord throughout. So what I'm going to do is get into position here. This is the working cord because it's a long one, so I'm going to bring that underneath basically the middle one out of the 3, so the first holding cord, because that goes above the long working cord, and then out to the side there. And then I need to make a double half hitch with this working cord around that holding cord. So the same knot that we did up here, around your finger and through the loop. So again you get this 6, making sure it loops around the cord and comes up through the loop. Then I'm going to tighten this upwards, making sure that this row of knots now is kind of coming downwards instead of going to the side. And then one more to make it a double half hitch. Just like that. So we're just changing the direction in this case of the row of knots. And then that's the first knot. Now I need to take my working cord, the long one, bring it underneath the next holding cord. So just bring it underneath the next one here out to the side. And then we need to do the same thing. So a double half hitch with that. And then tighten that all the way up. Once more for a double. And then tighten that. And you can then see we have 2 knots here, one on each length of the shorter holding cords. So this is in the beginning, and then the next step is to continue these rows that we're kind of building downwards now, so they become a bit longer, and also we need to start making some curves into it so everything can connect together. So that means this working cord that I was just using, the long one, that needs to come back the other way to be able to keep building knots on these 2 holding cords. So bring it back underneath the same holding cord, and then it's just going in the opposite direction, so towards the other side here, and we're just swapping hands as well. But then you just do another double half hitch the exact same way, but with opposite hands than we just used. So looping around your cord, and then when you tighten this, this gets tightened underneath the last knot that we just made, and basically continuing the row like that. And then, because we've just done that one double half hitch, we need to move on to the next holding cord. So bring your working cord underneath that one, and then take your working cord around your finger again, around the cord and through the loop. So again loops around, and then tighten this upwards again below the first knot that we did on this first holding cord, just like that. And now it's then a little bit different because we would normally do another one here to make it a double half hitch, but what we need to do now, it is still going to kind of be a double half hitch, but we need to change direction within the knot. So instead of making a full knot, I've made half of it, the first half, and then straight away I need to bring the working cord back underneath the same holding cord, again swapping hands, and then basically complete the knot, but doing it with the opposite hands. So just like that, again looping around but in the opposite direction, and then tighten that up. So you could say it's still a double half hitch, but let's just create it with knots going in opposite directions, and then bring the working cord underneath the next holding cord again. And the reason that I do that is that's how you kind of make little curves and bends in the knots of rows that we need. Then make another double half hitch with the next working cord there, with the working cord and the next holding cord, and this time it's just going to be a normal one. So make it in the same direction, just like that. And that's the first little piece of work that we've done. Then with this group of cords here, so I'm just going to put these a bit to the side, and then I'm going to use the other one out of the middle 2 groups that I got ready. And we're just basically going to do the exact same thing, but obviously because this is, if you have the line down the middle, it's on the other side, it's just going to be mirrored to this. So that means we just need to separate out the 2 holding cords, and then the working cord is obviously the one we're going to use to make the knots with. And that's the inner one of the 2 towards the middle, or the 3, sorry. So we have these, and I'm going to take the working cord underneath the first holding cord out to the side, and then make a double half hitch around the holding cord, and again tighten this so this row of knots come downwards. Another one here to make it the double, tighten that, so that's the first knot, and then bring your working cord under the next holding cord out of this group, and then make a double half hitch again, tighten that all the way up, and then once more for a double, just like that. And then this is where we then need to change direction, just like we did on the other side. And we do that by just taking the working cord back underneath the same holding cord that we were just using, and then making our next double half hitch. So like that, tighten it up, and then another one to make it the double. And when you have that, we then obviously need to go to the next holding cord, so take the working cord back underneath that one, then get ready to make your next knot. So bring it around your finger, the cord here through the loop, and tighten that all the way up. And then if you remember, this is where on the other side we made that little curve by then immediately swapping direction. So just making the first half of the knot, and then straight away take the working cord back underneath the same holding cord, swap hands, and make the other half of the knot. And then that's change the direction within the knot, just like that. And then to finish off that one, bring the working cord underneath the next holding cord, the outside one again, and then make your double half hitch around this. Tighten that up, just like this. And there we then have these two little sections ready for the next step. And that is to connect the two groups together. So, because what we did with the little curve, that's made them curve more towards each other, the ends there. So we need to connect the ends together. So what I'm going to do is just put the working cords from the two groups out of the way for now, and we're going to use the holding cords to do this. So this is the only time when we're using the holding cords to make knots with, is when we connect rows together throughout the piece. And what you need to do as well is decide what direction you want kind of the look of your rows to go over and under each other, because it's going to be obvious as we go throughout, and to keep it nice and consistent. I'm going to take, if you have two cords in the middle here, I'm going to take the middle one from the right side, bring that over the others here. There's going to be the first holding cord, the very next cord, the first one that's coming from the other side is coming underneath, and it's the first working cord. So I'm going to take that and make my double half hitch, exact same knot, and then you can see that obviously connects the two sides. We pull this tight together. Another one to make it a double here. Tighten it down, and then what you can see is what this does is continue the row from the right group, the inner row of them, and then I take the next working cord, the other one from the left group here, it's coming underneath, make a double half hitch, again you continue that same row. So this is going to be like the knots, or the rows, sorry, from the right side are crossing over the ones from the left side. Just like that. And then, obviously it's just one row, we need to do the other one. So I need to take the other holding cord, which is then now going to be holding cord again, that we haven't used yet, bring that over the other two here, that are then currently the working cords, and then make double half hitches with them as well. And that then continues the other row from that side. And the other one. So make sure to use all the cords. And that's then fully connected these two groups together right there in the middle. So now that we've then connected those two there, that point in the middle, what we're going to do is go back to working with kind of one group at a time. So you can just put one out of the way and then start working with the one you choose to. Doesn't matter because we're going to do both of them anyway. And I'm going to show you how to then basically continue the rows of knots and going outwards from that connection point. So the outer one of this group, I'm going to start with the left group here, is the long working cord. That's going to be the working cord again now. and these two here are the holding cords coming from those rows in the middle. So that means I'm going to take the working cord underneath the first holding cord, which is the middle out of the three, bring it underneath there, and then I'm going to make a double half hitch, tighten it up. So again, we're continuing the rows here to keep building the pattern. So that's one, and then we need to bring the working cord underneath the next holding cord, because we're constantly working with these kind of two groups of these rows of knots right next to each other. Double half hitch, like that. Then we need to swap direction again, because we're building the row right now, and this is going to be a straight one. So I'm going to bring it back underneath the same holding cord, and then make a double half hitch in the opposite direction here with opposite hands, and then tighten this up. And you just want to make sure when you tighten your knots that you're holding your holding cords in the direction that the row needs to go. So I'm just holding it at that angle a little bit there to make sure the row continues in the right direction. You double half hitch like that, and then bring your working cord underneath the next holding cord, do the same thing. And once more for a double. And there we go. And then again swap direction. So bring the working cord underneath the holding cord, and then make your knot in the opposite direction here. Just like that. And to finish it off as well, make sure you bring it underneath the next holding cord, and then just do your double half hitch on that one as well. Once more here, to then complete this little section just like that. So that is now ready for the next step on this side. But then obviously what we need to do is just do the same thing with the other group out of the two middle groups here. So we just do the exact same thing. The outer one is the working cord, bring that underneath the middle cord, which is the first holding one, and then make your double half hitch. Tighten that up, just like that. Bring it underneath the next one, and then you can see these rows that we're making now are continuing from the ones on the left side, the way it looks. And it looks like that one is going underneath the one that's coming from the right. That's why we do have to pay attention to how we're crossing cords over and under each other as well, and how we're making the knots. Again, bring your working cord underneath the same holding cord to swap direction, and then continue your double half hitch. Bring it underneath the next one. All the way up to the side here, tighten it. So we're building both rows here that are right next to each other at the same time. Bring it back underneath again, because we need to make sure now that the working cords for these little sections that we're using are ending up in the inside, so pretty much in the middle there, to be ready for the next step after this. And the last one here, into the middle. Make your double half hitch around your finger and through the loop. And there we go. So you can see now that's in the exact same position as the one we just did on the other side. So we now have this middle section pretty much done in this step here. So the next thing I want to do is go to the outside sections, because we then need to build them here to then connect the outside sections to these two middle sections as well, to obviously be able to build the pattern. So then we just start with one side at a time, working with one of the groups at a time here. So I'm just going to take all the other ones, so all the ones I just used, the cords in the middle, and also just put them out of the way. So again, same principle, so we just don't get them mixed up and tangled up here with each other. So I'm going to start with the outer group on the left side here, so that one. And what we also have is the same thing as the other groups. We have two of them, the shorter holding cords, mainly the holding cords, and then we have one that's the longer cord, that's mainly going to be the working cord. So we need to start building our rows on this side. And I do that by taking the working cord, which is the inner one of the three, bringing that underneath the middle one of the three, which is the first holding cord, and then building our rows by making a double half hitch, and again having it come downwards the row here, just like that. Moving on to the next holding cord, so bringing the working cord under that, so we get it to the outside. Once more here to make the double half hitch, just like that. And then we need to swap direction, then take the working cord underneath the same holding cord, make another double half hitch, tighten that, so we're continuing the rows like that, going under the next holding cord with the working cord, making a double half hitch again. So you can see we're building these rows that line right next to each other downwards again, and what we need to do is get to the point where that row on the outside here that connects to the one that we have coming from the inside. So just like that, swap direction again. Always kind of just using the same techniques to build the rows here. Then it's just obviously needing to go in the right direction at the right time. Get to the outer one. We double half hitch again, swapping direction towards the inside. And we're kind of getting to the point now as well where we need to keep in mind to make a little curve in this row. So make this double half hitch, and then that's the point we got to now. I bring the working cord underneath that next holding cord on the inside, and then this is where we need to make the curve by making the turn in the middle of the knot. So I make the first half, just like that, and then instantly I bring the working cord underneath the holding cord again towards the opposite direction, and then make the other half of the knot. And that then creates that little curve, so it's going to start moving inwards, the rows here, towards the end of the inner group of cords there. Go outside again to the outer cord, continue the rows, just like that, and then again bring it underneath, because we need to make it a bit longer still so it reaches. What you can also do is, because I have a bit of work done, it's moving a bit here, I'm just going to put a pin into this row that I'm working on, just to make it not move so much. Find my cord again and complete my knot. Move to the next one. You see we still have just a little bit of space before the end of this row reaches the end of the inner one. That's basically the aim that we're wanting to do. Just like that. And then we have pretty much one final turn left, so I need to bring the working cord back under the same holding cord to also get the working cord towards the outside. So that will then be ready for the following step later. Tighten that, bring it towards the outer holding cord underneath there to make the final double half hitch. Just like this, because then the working cord is on the outside as well, and you have the two holding cords just here. And you can see these two rows now meet up just perfectly with the holding cords there coming right towards each other. So that then means that the next step is to connect these two kind of groups together, and we do that in the exact same way as we did it up here, except now we also have to start paying attention to what goes over and under. So if you're looking at this right group of the two that are meeting up, the last place where that crossed over under, it actually crossed over. So that means on this one we want that one to go under. So you always want to pay attention to that and kind of always make sure to do the opposite of what it did in the previous crossover. So that now means that we have to make the outer one cross over. That means that we have to have the holding cords be from that group, the first one, and then the other ones from the group that crossed over previously are the working cords. So start with one, make your double half hitch, and then obviously that also connects the two sections, the two groups there together. Take the next working cord from the inner group, just like that, and then we grab the other cord coming from the outer group that we haven't used yet, bring that over because that's the next holding cord, continue the rows from that group by using the working cords that we just used before to connect the two sections. The other one just making your double half hitches here, just like that. And now these two groups on this side are connected as well. So basically all you want to now do is the exact same thing on the other side. So obviously you go over to that side, it's the exact same thing, it's just mirrored. So you have the two shorter ones are the holding cords, the long one is the working cord. So obviously you need to use that to build your rows downwards first. Make the same amount of knots as we did on there, and then you want this curve to go in this direction inwards by changing the direction within the knot. Just that one knot, but on the inside of the two holding cords. And again, connect the two sections together as well, the exact same way, making sure though that you cross over and under the opposite way than the previous place from that same section. So get to that point here, so we have both sides made and connected, and then we can also start getting into the proper pattern and continue the bracelet. So I now completed the connection point on that side as well with the two groups. You can see we're at this point where so far it's then also looking symmetrical throughout if you put a line down the middle. So now what we need to do is the next step is to just kind of again go back to the two groups in the middle here, because we need to make some rows of knots going back in towards each other, basically the same as they are up here, and then meeting there in the middle. So you get almost a little square or a diamond right there in the middle. And the way that we do that is by continuing building on the rows of knots here. I'm just going to take one group at a time. So I'm just going to start with this left one, and we have again the two short ones are the ones that are coming from the previous rows there, and then the inner one of the three is the long working cord. I'm going to take that underneath the middle one, which is the first holding cord, and then start making my double half hitches to continue building them. So make a double half hitch around this one here, the first holding cord, and then bring the working cord straight under the next holding cord and make your next double half hitch. Just like that. And then because, like I said, we need to build these two rows coming from each side going towards each other, these are also just going to be straight, so there's no curves or bends in this. So I'm just swapping direction then, making sure to hold the holding cord in the direction that I want the row to go, so in towards the middle there, at a bit of an angle. Just like that. Moving to the next holding cord by going underneath with the working cord and making the next double half hitch. And again, holding the holding cord in that direction. And you can see the rows are building and we're gradually getting further and further towards the middle. Swap direction again, bring the working cord underneath the same holding cord. And then this is the last time we've done that. And then also the working cord here is going to end up on the outside of this group of cords, which is what we need it to be, to then be ready for the step after this, the next time we need to use it. Just like that. So that's the rows in the group on this side here. You can see that then kind of pretty much reaches the middle there, just perfect like it does up there. We need to do the same thing with the other group here on the other side. So that's exactly the same thing, like I said, because it's straight down the middle with a line and it's all mirrored. So you just want to start with the long working cord, taking that under the first holding cord and start making your double half hitches. So you want to do that again the same way and then swapping direction the same amount of times that we did on this side. So the working cord ends up on the outside of the 3 and the 2 ends of these groups are meeting up right there in the middle just perfectly to connect them then as the next step. So now the 2 groups are meeting there in the middle pretty much. We then need to connect them as the next step, and again, because it's a connection point, just make sure you bring the right ones over and under, so obviously the way that it appears. So that means if you take the right ones here, last time they came underneath, so in this connection point I want these rows to be over the others. So that means that they have to be the holding cords. I take that first and then I take the first working cord from the other side, bring that around my finger and through the loop to make my double half hitch to connect them here. Tighten that, just like that. Take the next working cord and connect them again here in the middle to complete this row in the connection point. Then take the next holding cords, the holding cord here, the one that we haven't used yet, and then just do the same thing, continue that row as well. And you can also tell this one from the right side is the one that's crossing over, appears to be, which is the same as it was in the connection point straight above it. So once more for a double half hitch, and then we have the connection point complete. So now we reach the point here where this is the point in the pattern that I want to add in that little twist in the middle, you could say. So that's just continuing to use these same 2 groups that we just connected together, and the outer ones here, the outer groups, obviously we haven't used them yet, but I'm still going to wait with them. You could do them now before you make the middle, but I usually prefer making the middle part first and then get the middle part to the point where the connection points are going to be, and then I make the outside ones. Obviously it's completely up to you how you prefer to do it. So I'm going to again start in the middle, start with whatever side you want to, and then we have 2 cords here, the ones that were the holding cords in the connection point, and we have the long one that's the working cord. So we just need to make basically a little curve here on this side with these cords in this group. I bring the working cord underneath the middle cord, that's the first holding cord, make my double half hitch here. So this is kind of the part of the pattern that's a little bit different, like that. And then I need to bring it under the next holding cord, make the first half of a double half hitch, tighten that, but then this is already where we have to then put a little bit of a curve in. I'm just going to add some more pins as well so it doesn't move around as much, because obviously the further you get, the more loose a piece you'll have in a section. It helps really to pin it down, makes it easier to work with. So I made the first half of my double half hitch there. So we need to straight away change direction within the knot. So I need to bring the working cord underneath the same holding cord and then make the other half of the knot just like that. So there we go, that's the double half hitch, but where we change direction within the knot, bring the working cord to the next holding cord, the outside one here, and make just a regular double half hitch with this one. There we go. And then change direction towards the inside again, because it's the outside one, just make a regular double half hitch, building up the rows here, and then go under the next holding cord, make the first half of a double half hitch like that, and then we need to straight away make a turn again. So that's again making that little curve, because obviously this is a bit more of a curve than it is up here. So I'm going to bring that underneath the same holding cord straight away, and then just make the other half of the knot in the other direction, just like that. And then again just bring it under the next holding cord to the outside, to make sure again that the working card is on the outside of all these cards in this group to be ready for the next step after. So it's sitting in the right place. Just like that. So this group is now ready. We have the little curve in place there. So now what we need to do is basically do the exact same thing, but with the other group of the two middle ones. And like I said, it's the same thing, just mirrored. So you have your two short holding cards, the long one as the working card. So bring it underneath the middle one. Make a full double half hitch. Again, first off we start off the row by coming at an angle. It's continuing the row before the connection point there. Bring it to the inside holding card. Make the first half of your knot. Like that. And then if you remember straight away, bring it back underneath the same holding card to get that little turn or curve in place. Tighten that. And then go to the next holding card and make a normal full double half hitch on the outside one. Just like this. And then, because we're on the outside one, change direction again. But that's kind of the midpoint here of this little section. Make a double half hitch. Working our way back towards the inner of the two holding cards. Bring it underneath that next inner one. And then, same thing again. We need to already put a bit more of a curve in there. So just make the first half of the knot, straight away bring it underneath in the opposite direction. And make the other half of it. Just like that. And then go to the outside one. And make a full double half hitch with that. And then we've also ended up with the working cord on the outside, just where we need it to be. And you can see we have the holding cords that are kind of naturally wanting to come in and cross over each other right there in the middle. And this is now going to be the next connection point. And that connection point works the same as the others we've done previously. Just remembering to check that it's the right ones you go over and under with. So this one coming from the right went under in the first part of the twist, so that now needs to come over. And basically it's just doing it the exact same way as the other ones in the middle here that we've done. So I'm going to bring the first holding cord from the right over the others from the left group and make my double half hitch with that left working cord to bring them together, and then also connect the two groups again to help build the pattern here that we're making. Make a double half hitch with each of these two cords coming from the left, around that holding cord, take the other holding cord from the right that we haven't used yet, and also make a double half hitch with each of the working cords here coming from the left. And then that again is the connection point. And then you'll really be able to see as well, we have that little twist in place right here in the middle that adds to the design. So that's kind of the main part of this little group that we need to make. I do just want to continue them a bit more though, these two groups, before I go back to the ones on the side. Because we haven't quite reached the point where the side parts here, when we make them, are going to connect to the middle groups. So we need to make sure to get them to that point. And again, start with one group at a time. The outer one is the working cord, bring that underneath the next one as the holding cord, and then make your double half hitch to continue the row that's then coming from the right. And again, this is then making a section, rows of knots here. It's going to be equivalent to the rows that we did just before we added this twist in. So they're just straight as well. So go to the inside one here, make your double half hitch, and then we need to change direction. So bring the working cord under the same holding cord, swap hands, make your next double half hitch and hold the holding cord here in that same direction that the row is going to go in. Just like that. Bring it under the next one. to the outside holding cord, you could say. Make your double half hitch, change direction again because it's not quite as long as the other ones prior to the twist yet. And also we need the working cord to be on the inside of this group then now, once we've made these knots, to be in the right position for the next one. The next holding cord here, make your double half hitch, just like that. That's then this group. Then all you do is move over to the other group of the middle two here, do the exact same thing. Take the outer one, that's the working cord, bring it underneath the next one, start making your double half hitches, continuing these rows here. Obviously then making the same amount of turns as you did on this side. So these two little sections and rows of knots are going to end up being the same length. So now I've got both groups here in the middle ready for the connection points, the next ones that we're going to make. But obviously we need to make the outside groups as well to connect to them. So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm just going to move my cords again out of the way. Again, so we just don't get tangled up with the different cords here. And then we're just going to start with one side at a time. So I'm just going to start with my left one, and we have this group with the 3 cords where the outside one here is the long working cord, and then the other two are the 2 holding cords. So then we obviously need to continue the rows just like we do in all the other groups. So I'm going to take the outside one that's the working cord, bring it underneath the middle one, then start making my double half hitches again. Tighten that. Another one to make it a double here. Just like that. Bring it to the next holding cord, so underneath it, the inner one. And then here we also make a double half hitch, just a regular one. And you can see this row is then continuing the one that's coming from the middle and going underneath the one that's crossing from the other side. Like that. Change direction. So I'm going to bring the working cord under the same holding cord. Make my double half hitch with opposite hands. And then continue the row, and obviously, just like the other times, make sure to hold the holding cord in the direction that we want the row to go. Like that. And then bring it under the next holding cord, the working cord there. Make a double half hitch. So it's coming to the outside again. We need to change direction. Bring it underneath the same holding cord. Make your double half hitch. Now moving towards the inside again. And then bring it under the inside holding cord. And then this is then the point. That's the first little kind of change of direction. So this is actually the knot where we change direction within the knot. So I'm going to make the first half of that double half hitch, just like that, tighten it, and then change direction straight away before making the other half. So bring the working cord under it, under the holding cord, and then make the other half of the double half hitch here with opposite hands, just like that. And then just go under the next holding cord and make a double half hitch on that. So there we go. The first little curve, change the direction there, like I said. Then we change direction again, moving inwards. And now what we need to do is make basically a straight line downwards for a little bit of our rows, until obviously we get to the point down here where we have to make the other little turn to go inwards again. Because we need to make this whole section now with this group reach all the way down to this point where it's going to be a connection point. So basically go around the side of the twist in the middle. So just working our way down. Swap direction again. Come under the holding cord. Like that, make your double half hitch. And you can see as well, this working cord, obviously in all the groups you have the one working cord, you can see now that it does get used far more because it's making far more knots than the other ones that are short, obviously just being used in the connection points really. Change direction to come inwards again. Make your double half hitch. Because of how we're building the rows here, the working cord is the one that gets used so much because it just goes back and forth from holding cord to holding cord, making knots there. That's how they're getting built. Make your double half hitch on this one. Change direction again to come towards the outside. So bring it under the same holding cord. Make your double half hitch. And what you can also tell as you're making these rows is when we're swapping direction, you can kind of see a little loop on the side, a little bit on the underside of the rows here. That's also a way to kind of keep track of how many knots you've made. So obviously make sure to get the right amount to hit the right points where we need to make a bit of a curve or a turn, or make the row long enough to reach a connection point. So that's quite handy because you have those little loops, you could call them, that can definitely help work that out. Like that towards the inside. And then you can see we're getting closer now, we're not that far from that connection point at the bottom, which means we have the two loops here, the ones I just kind of told you about, that you could see where you've made a turn on the inside, this little section in here, on the inside of that row. You have those two. That means the next time we're on the inside, which is now, is when we need to make the turn again, so inwards. So that's where we need to make the knot where we turn in the middle of the knot. So I made the first half and then I turn straight away, swap direction, and then do the other half of that knot half hitch in the other direction to make that little turn, and then go straight on to the outside one and make a regular double half hitch. And you can see as well we get that little turn back inwards. It's going to fit just perfectly. By this building these rows a little bit further, they're going to end up matching and being able to connect together. Change direction. Next holding cord here. Double half hitch with the other half here. Change direction because we need the working cord to end up on the outside. So make your double half hitch again around the same holding cord but in the opposite direction. Just like that. Bring it underneath the next one. And make your double half hitch here. Just like that. So there we can see you have your two holding cords, and then the working cord is now pointing outwards towards the side. And we've now reached the point with this group of cords where it's long enough and fits perfectly to then connect with the group in the middle here that's obviously going towards that side. So that group there, so I'm going to bring these two together. You can see the ends are going to fit perfectly just like that. So what I'm going to do straight away is also connect them just so they're kind of fasten, and then I'm going to move on to the other side afterwards. Again, we just need to make sure we're crossing over and under in the right direction. So that means the one coming from the right crossed over the last time, so that now needs to go under, which means the one coming from the left is the one that needs to go over, so that's going to be the holding cord. So I'll bring that over the others, take the first one from the right, that's the first working cord, make your double half hitch to connect them here, just like that. Tighten that, do the other double half hitch with the other working cord. So that's the first one. Then we need to bring the other cord from the left that we haven't used yet in as the next holding cord, and then use the same working cords one at a time to connect and continue that row. And you can see you have the outside and the middle group there from that side connected as well, just like this. So that is now that side done, and that's basically how you want to do it. You obviously want to do the exact same thing on the other side now. So you then swap over to the other side, whichever one you started with, go to the opposite one, and you just want to do the exact same thing but just mirror it again. So you just take the outer cord, is your working cord where you start making your knots, bring that under the next one to be your working cord, and start making your double half hitches. And then you can just obviously look back on this one that I just showed you how to do to see when you have to do the little curve, and then also the amount of knots you have to do until you have to do the other curve, and then until you reach the connection point. And also, like I said, you can use on your own and on this little loops whenever you make a turn from side to side. You get these little loops on the side. That's a good way to keep track as well of obviously making sure things get symmetrical. So just make the exact same thing on the other side, connect the two sides, the two groups there, and then we have the whole thing symmetrical again if you take a line down the middle, and we reach that step where we also have that little twist added in. So I now made the other side as well here, just like I explained, the exact same way as the first side. You can see it's still looking nice and symmetrical if you have a line down the middle. And all that's left to do now really is keep repeating this. So basically this section that I just showed you where the twist you have in the middle is all you're going to keep repeating over and over, obviously until you reach the length that you need. Because the point we're at now, these connection points, are the same points that we were at up here before we just started making the twist. So if you imagine that little square or diamond you had right there that we then made before the twist, that's the point we're at now. We have the first half of that diamond or square. We then need to make the other half to complete that, and then obviously it's a twist after that, so it's just repeating this over and over. So just keep doing this until you obviously reach the length that you need it to be. Mine is whatever clasp you want to use if you want to make it a bracelet, and then you'll have your full length with your nice little added twist into the braid. So where you want to stop here in this end to make it match the other end is basically in the middle of the pattern. So you can see the pattern here, if you have one section where you have that twist in the middle, it's basically in the middle of that you want to stop to get then this straight line across that we're going to make next. And you can just see exactly how I started out. You're going to do that in this end, but just obviously in reverse to finish it instead of starting it out. So what we need to do to finish it off, because you can see each group here is kind of ended up on its own. So we just want to make these rows of knots underneath to connect it all and make it one piece. So what I'm going to do is take a cord from one side, so the outer cord, doesn't matter what side you start from, bring it over the top of all the others, and that's going to be your holding cord. And all we're going to do is make those rows going from side to side just like we did in the beginning. So bring it over, then take the very next one that comes underneath, that's the first working cord, and then just start building your row straight underneath the end of all these groups of cords. Make your double half hitch, grab the next one, double half hitch again, and then to connect the two groups here that are next to each other but have a gap in between, all you do is grab the next cord you run into but coming from that next group. And that's exactly how we started out. We're just kind of working in reverse, so finishing it off instead of starting the piece, just like that, and grab the next one. So same principle as the other end, we make this row first, all the way to the other end, then we bring the same cord back again to make the next row. And I just want to make the same amount of rows as we have in the other end. So because the other end we started out attaching the cords, that technically gave us 3 rows, so I'm just going to make 3 rows, one direction, the other, and then back across again, just to get an even spacing on both ends. So now I've got both ends the same here. You can see all that's left to do is finish off the ends so we can use it and just get rid of the excess cord here. So how I'm going to do this is singe it down as well, and obviously use the ribbon ends. But what you can do is, if you're not using a synthetic cord like I am here, you're just going to have to use glue to kind of get rid of the excess cord. But I'm going to singe it down like I said. So to do that, I'm going to just get my scissors and then cut off the majority of the cord here. Leave about 1 to 2 millimeters right where the cords are coming out from. So cut all the way across. And that last one. And then I'm going to then get my lighter out, and obviously be careful with this because it's a naked flame and it gets hot. So just do it carefully. Or like I said, if you're using a natural cord, if you don't like using the flame, just use a bit of glue here so you're able to cut off the excess. Just cinching this down just to kind of get rid of the little extra bits at the end that we cut off, but then also to seal the cord in place, and that seals all the knots there so it's not going to come undone. So now I have this nice neat clean end. Obviously do the same at the other end, and then I'm going to bring in the ribbon end here and then attach this so we can use the loop in that to attach the clasp and obviously start wearing it. And what I'm also going to do is use a bit of glue inside the ribbon end. You don't have to, but I prefer to do it to make it much more long-term durable without it coming undone. I'm going to be using the E6000 here, so it's nice and strong glue, and also it dries clear in case anything spills out a little bit, and I just use a toothpick to apply it with. So just get a bit on the toothpick or whatever you're using, and then I'm going to get some inside the ribbon end. You don't want to put too much in because we're going to clamp it down, so it's just going to come spilling out anyway, but also you can always add more if you feel it's not quite enough. But bring it up and down the sides, on both sides, the glue here, until it's covered nicely. And if you have a bit too much, rather take out some of the glue than maybe spilling out with it after when we clamp it down. And then I always take what I have left and just put it on the end of my piece, just right at the end. That's the bit that's going to go inside the ribbon end here. I just feel it gets the glue into that little nooks and crannies in between the knots, and then adheres the two pieces much better together. It becomes much more durable. So just whatever glue you've got left here, nothing too much. And then when you have that, then we obviously need to attach the ribbon end. So I'm then going to take that, put it on the end, center it up, and then we need to use a pair of flat nose pliers to clamp this down. So I like to hold the piece in my hand and then put a finger on each side of the ribbon end and kind of make sure to hold it in the middle here. Then I like to go in from one side and start gently clamping it down, squeezing with the flat nose pliers a bit at a time, going from side to side. And the reason that I do that and I don't just go in and squeeze one place is because I want to make sure that it stays centered and it doesn't move while we're squeezing it down and it gets clamped down crooked. So just do it gently, and then when you feel that you're almost there to the point where the next time you're clamping can be the full way down, nice and hard, I'm going to double check that it's in the middle, and if you're still happy with how it sits, you can either adjust it if you're not, because it's not completely clamped down yet, and then when you are, you just give your final squeezes. Nice extra bit of force in there, and right to the ends, just like that. And that's how you attach the ribbon end here. So the extra glue also just adds a bit extra security, and obviously we're using that loop there to attach our findings, so whatever clasp you want to use. So finish off the other end the exact same way, and then once you've done that, attach your clasp, then we have the complete finished bracelet. And this is then my finished piece, so I have attached both ribbon ends there and also my clasp and extended chain, and then it's ready to wear. So obviously you're just going to start using the clasp, whatever clasp that is you'd have attached to yours, and then there you have your effect of what's technically a 4-strand braid, but also Celtic inspired, I think, with that added twist into it in the macrame technique. So that's what it looks like. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make this water lily beaded kumihimo bracelet, and this is what it looks like. So you have these little water lilies all the way around, but it's just on the one side is the outside of the bracelet here. So the inside is kind of nice and flat, so it's going to be nice and comfortable to wear. And then I just finished it off with my findings, and it looks a bit like that. Obviously you can choose whatever colour combinations that you want to for yours. I've just used these ones here. Now also, what I just want to